I had Rick come out. Actually, it started with I had a new roof put on, and I had lines like air conditioning lines. I had a previous split unit up on the second floor, and the roofers actually caused a leak because the lines were actually running on the roof. So there was no way for them to avoid moving the lines, which ended up causing the leak. So the day they left, my air conditioners didn't work. So I'd actually called the roofing company, and they had recommended Rick's company. So that's how I initially came to know Rick and his company. The first person I talked to was Tim. I think it's his brother. And Tim came out, and we looked at it, and Tim was telling me a few things that it could be. And originally the idea was to fix it. And then I asked him, well, how much would it be to fix? And in this case, it would be like $800-ish or so, just like a kind of a rough estimate. And so I had decided not to fix it because but even before this, I had thought about upgrading the system. So I felt like $800 was a bit steep for, even the roofing company was going to pay for it. And I said, well, I don't want them to pay that much for something that I'm going to fix, I want to replace anyway. So I decided instead just scrap that idea and go with maybe talking to them about upgrading. So of course then, it switches from a service call to a sales type situation. So, Tim goes home, says, Rick will come out the following week, and he comes out, he's a big guy, tall guy, and especially in this house. And he was his personality was very disarming, as we had mentioned. He was real friendly, he listened. I have a lot of stuff going on in the house, and met a lot of contractors, and he was kind of the opposite. He was really warm and friendly and caring, and a lot of the contractors, they make me feel like they're just there for 10 minutes and they have to get going. So even if I'm going to spend $10,000, they only have 10 minutes. Rick was the opposite. He made you feel like he could be there all day, and sometimes he was here all day eventually. So he was actually a good guy to work with, and we talked about it. He gave me his bid for what we finally decided. And in the end, I actually decided what I wanted in the house. I kind of had an idea, and I ended up actually going with what a different company. He could still install it, and they were still good at installing it. It was just not what they recommended initially, and so they're real nice about it, and they put it in, and they did a super job. I can't say how super of a job they did, but I'm a bit picky also. So I was there every day. I wasn't really hovering over them, but I did. I was kind of watching what they were doing, just kind of out of curiosity also. And I'll say that they did a super job, installing it. Rick was super nice to this whole process. He ended up doing the install. I didn't expect him to actually do a lot of the install, but he was actually out here a lot. So I actually ended up getting to chat with him, a lot during the installation process. And the more I chatted with him, the more I liked him and his company. And the more I felt like, if I ever needed something in the future, I would call them again. So this house has two systems. I have a four-head split system in the house that I initially had them install. And then I had also contemplated about having my main unit replaced, my main air conditioner furnace replaced. I decided to do it all at once with him because of my experience with the first system. So immediately after, or even before they finished the first system, I had already started talking to him about doing the second system. So basically this house has two systems. Of course, the cost is appropriate for two systems. They aren't the cheapest systems, but it was something I wanted. And because it was something I wanted, I didn't need it. I was a bit more pickier about who I would choose to install it. It wasn't like a last-minute emergency or anything. I wanted a good unit, and I wanted a good installer, and so I went with him also. It ended up, it wasn't just one system I had him put in, I had him put in two, and same thing. They did an excellent job putting in the second system. This one was a little bit more elaborate than the first one, and they did a super job. Even before they finished that, I signed up for a service contract because they did such a good job installing it, and I'm out of town a lot. And so I figured, it'd be good to have somebody, especially the people who installed it, maintain it, at least for the foreseeable future. So I signed up for a service contract, so that way I also don't have to worry about the system now that I've put it in. Rick's personality, and he didn't even have to sell anything. You know, just him showing up and talking to me about stuff, and you know, talking to him through the process as he was out here every day, made me really want to use him, you know, for a HVAC person. It's hard to find those kinds of people in the contracting industry, no matter what you're looking for. You know, somebody that you can call anytime.